Hello, my name is Stephen Shotton. I'm a woodwind teacher with the music service, and this video is entitled The Clarinet, How It Works. You may be watching because you're interested in taking up the clarinet, or you may already be playing and want to understand a bit more about your instrument. I hope that whatever your starting point, this video will whet your appetite for developing your clarinet playing and knowledge. Now, if we're talking about the clarinet, we're actually talking about a family of instruments that come in different sizes and pitches, some of which we'll look at during the course of this video. But first of all, we need to go back in time. Whilst not as long established as some other members of the woodwind family, the clarinet does have a long tradition stretching back to around about 1740. When it was developed by a man by the name of J.C. Denner. And he developed it from an existing instrument known as the chalumeau. The chalumeau is a simple pipe-like instrument, similar to the recorder, but with a mouthpiece and reed on it. Here's a picture. But an even more simple form than the chalumeau is, of course, the humble recorder. Here's the descant recorder, popular since the 1700s and remains a popular instrument to this day. So there's the descant recorder. But perhaps more interesting for us, looking at the clarinet, is the treble recorder. Now the treble recorder actually has the same note names as the clarinet. It's a simple tube, we're going to blow down it, but a recorder has this arrangement up here where the air comes out, is split there, creating a vibration down the tube and thus creating the sound. Like we're going to find on a clarinet, we're going to put our thumb on a back hole and we're going to put our first finger on the first hole. Now on this instrument and on the clarinet, that note is known as the note E. If I just play that on the treble recorder. And as I go down, adding more fingers, then the sound is going to go down. There we are, a little tricky getting the very lowest note, but you get the idea. Now, the chalumeau then developed from the idea of a tube and putting a mouthpiece with a reed on. So, on the clarinet, we have this arrangement. We have the mouthpiece, which obviously is going to go in your mouth, and we have the single reed, just one reed. I say single reed because there are some members of the woodwind family that use a double reed, but maybe that's for another video, another time. Now our single reed is made out of bamboo and shaped and cut and prepared to give us the best vibrational qualities in the reed. They come in different thicknesses and sizes. The bigger the clarinet, the bigger the reed. You can get softer reeds if you're a beginner, something that's a little more easy to blow. But that reed is attached to the mouthpiece, then level with the sides, level with the top. And then this apparatus here, this is known as the ligature. This goes over the reed and clamps it to the mouthpiece. I'm going to tighten that up now very tightly. There we are. So we have a reed attached to the mouthpiece. There's a gap at the top there where the air can travel through, allowing the reed to vibrate. But because that reed is very delicate, we have to blow it in a certain way. The bottom lip has to go with the bottom teeth. And the top teeth have to go on the top, not too far up, not too far down, just about there. So I put my bottom lip over my bottom teeth, top teeth on the top. Take a deep breath. And blow. And we get a very squeaky sound just from that much. But that's not the sum of the whole instrument. If I start adding a little bit more to that, I have here the next part of the clarinet. This is known as the barrel, because of course it just looks like a barrel. But if I now attach my mouthpiece to my barrel, you see the mouthpiece has cork around it. All the joints of the clarinet have cork, which provides a good airtight and watertight seal. So that's twisted into the barrel. Careful to not damage the reed. Now if I blow that much, have a listen. So it's still quite squeaky, but at least it's a little bit more interesting. Now, as the instrument grows longer, it's going to go deeper in sound. Now we can have a little bit of fun with this. I can actually wrap my finger and thumb around there and form a fist. So I'm actually creating a slightly longer tube. So if I blow that now, you can hear I've managed to change the note. I can have some further fun with that by actually opening and closing my hand. So already we can manipulate the sound even by that much. But we're going to get fairly bored with that quite quickly, I suspect. So we need to add the rest of the instrument. Now, here we have the next part of the clarinet. It's called the top joint. You see cork this end and cork the other end. And I'm now going to add the barrel and mouthpiece to the top of the top joint. Again, twisting on carefully. Good grip, but being very careful. And now lining up the mouthpiece with this single key on the back of the clarinet. So we know it's around the right way. There we are. We've now got half of a clarinet. I'm going to blow it exactly the same, bottom lip over the bottom teeth, top teeth on the top. Taking a nice deep breath. And by keeping the breath going longer, then I can make a longer note. As long as that breath keeps going, then the note's going to keep going. Now, even with this much, I can start changing the notes. We've got a hole on the back for the thumb, so I'm going to put my thumb on that hole and blow again. If I put one more finger down, and another finger, and another finger. Now that note comes out slightly out of tune because we haven't got the rest of the instrument on. So let's add the next bit. And here we are. So this part is known as the bottom joint. That is. On the back there is this thing here. This is the thumb rest. It's where the thumb is going to go to help us hold the clarinet. So let's put that together. So I take my top joint, and we have to be careful here. On the side of the clarinet is a side key. It's called the clutch mechanism. That lever has to go on top of the corresponding lever on the other piece. And the only way you can do that is by pressing down here when you're putting it together. Quite important this, because it's part of the clarinet that can be damaged when you're assembling, so be very careful. Don't twist it around all the way, just short twists, a little push. If things are tight, you can always use cork grease you can buy from the music shops, or good old Vaseline is great on those corks, and that'll help you get your clarinet together. So now I've been careful to make sure I've lined up this clutch mechanism, these levers on the side, and that means now that the holes are in exactly the right place. All the holes have keys with rings around them, apart from this one here, and this one's slightly offset, which makes it a little easier for that third finger to reach it. More about the key work later. There's one more bit to add to the clarinet, and that's this, which is the bell, hence so called because it's very bell-like. And again, just carefully keeping the hands quite close together when you put things together, and just twisting that piece on as well. So there we have it, a clarinet fully assembled, absolutely in line, that reed attached by the ligature on there. So now if I put my thumb underneath the thumb rest, don't need to press any fingers down yet. In fact, just holding it at the top can sometimes help if you're just beginning. Bottom lip over the bottom teeth, top teeth from the top, deep breath. And we start to get the sound. So now I'm going to add fingers. Now as I add the fingers, as on the recorder, the sound is going to go down. Right down to the lowest note we can play. So this clarinet is called a B-flat clarinet, and it's typical of what we would start on normally. There are smaller, lighter weight plastic type clarinets that you can get if you are a small young beginner. You make it a little bit easier, but this is the normal clarinet. Now, more about the family though. If this is the normal B-flat clarinet, there are instruments that are smaller. We can have an A-flat clarinet, which is only about this big from there to there. But then the next one is the E-flat clarinet. And then this one, the B-flat clarinet. There's alto clarinets, and there's C clarinets, and there's the B-flat bass clarinet. Let's have a look at the lowest, well, it's not quite the lowest member. There's a contrabass clarinet as well, but you'll need to Google that one. Have a look at those. Let's have a look now at the bass clarinet. So from the largest clarinet of the usual clarinets that we would have in our family, let's go to the smallest. This is the E-flat clarinet. So exactly the same keys, the fingers go in exactly the same places, but it's much smaller. Perhaps if I compare it to the B-flat clarinet, do it like that, you'll see it's quite a lot smaller. So because it's smaller, it's going to be much higher in pitch. So I'm going to demonstrate the E-flat clarinet for you. Now with all of these instruments we need to breathe properly as well. So we need to take a deep breath. You'll feel your tummy muscles tighten up against your belt line. Your chest can expand and your lungs can expand to fill that space. Keep your shoulders down. If I just play a long note on the E-flat clarinet. If I run down the note. Now to make our notes go higher on a clarinet, we have a special key on the back here which we have to just touch with the thumb. This is called the register key or speaker key. This produces notes that are then 12 notes higher than the original low notes. So it's quite complicated to learn at first, almost like learning two instruments in one. But it does give the clarinet a huge range of notes. Now this little clarinet, the E-flat clarinet, is going to sound quite high. So if I start using that second register, you can hear quite squeaky, but it can be quite melodic as well. So here's a tune called Yesterday. So you can hear quite a high sound from the E-flat clarinet. Now one step larger than the E-flat clarinet is the C clarinet. Here's our E-flat clarinet, and here now is the C clarinet. Try and hold them that way for you. There we go. You should be able to see. Obviously the C clarinet is getting a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'll put the E-flat clarinet down. And as you can expect, the C clarinet, a bit bigger, is going to make slightly lower sounds. So not as squeaky as the E-flat clarinet. Now, the joy of playing an instrument like the clarinet, of course, is we can play all kinds of music. You just heard Yesterday, a tune from the Beatles, and now here's some jazz music. It's a little collection of jazz tunes that I've put together, which I've called A View Through the Window, of famous jazz tunes played on the C clarinet. Back to the B-flat clarinet. This one is made out of African blackwood. And most professional clarinets are. But for beginners, often they are made out of plastic, or a plastic called ebonite, which is tough and light, and cheaper to produce. So here's a piece played on the normal B-flat clarinet. It's written by the composer Mozart, called the Clarinet Concerto. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and good luck with your music making, and thanks for watching. Bye.